There are certain things I just refuse to buy. And it's not because I can't afford them, but because they don't actually help me build anything. And the more I got intentional with my own money, the more I started noticing something. So in this video, I'm gonna break down a few things that I personally stopped spending money on. And one of these things on the list is something that millions of people spend money on every single day without realizing how really expensive it is. The average person spends over $1,600 a year on this. But that's still not the most expensive trap, because later in this video, I'm going to show you the kind of purchase that doesn't just cost money once, it signs you up for new bills. And the last rule I'm going to share is probably the one that has saved me the most money in my entire life. Let's get into it. The first thing I refuse to spend a lot of money on is convenience. And when I say convenience, I'm talking about Uber Eats, DoorDash, grocery delivery, those meal prep services, all these apps that make spending feel effortless. Now, don't get me wrong, convenience feels good. That's exactly why it becomes a problem, because when spending gets easier, people naturally do more of it. A $20 meal turns into $40 quick. You add the delivery fee, the tax, the tip, and the markup. Now you've basically paid double because you didn't feel like driving 5 or 10 minutes. Now, here's where it gets expensive. Do that 3 times a week. That's about $540 a month just on food delivery. And the average person spends over $1,600 a year delivering food on these apps. That's a lot of money disappearing for something that could have been picked up down the street. But honestly, the price isn't even the biggest problem. Problem is what convenience does to your mindset. Convenience removes friction. And friction is one of the few things that actually protects your money, because when spending takes effort, you think more. You see, before these apps, you wanted food, you had to get in the car, drive there, wait in line, look at the prices, and then decide if you want it, if it's worth it or not. That's a lot of chances to stop yourself. Nowadays, you just open your app, you press a few buttons, and boom, you will have food delivering to your house. Now let me ask you something, and be honest. How many times have you ordered food while you already had food in the house? I'm guilty of it. A lot of people have done that not because they needed it, but because it was easy, and easy gets expensive fast. That's the problem. But here's the deeper issue. Convenience just doesn't cost money, it trained people to avoid effort. And the more people avoid effort in small areas, the harder it becomes to stay disciplined in bigger ones. Cooking your own food, managing your money, planning ahead, building a side hustle income. Those are certain things that requires effort. That's the part people don't want to hear. And honestly, I've seen this played out so many times. Even with my own friend group. My best friend and I one day compared what we were spending on food. When he added up his delivery orders, he was spending close to $1,000 a month just on delivery. You see, he's a single guy. Meanwhile, I have a wife and kids at home. I don't even spend half that much on groceries a month. Now, his lifestyle is completely different from mine. He doesn't cook, he's a bachelor, so I understand, but still, that's crazy. But what's even crazier about that story was he didn't even realize he was spending that much. Because when you spend $25 here, $30 there, $40 there, it never feels like a big deal in the moment. But that's how it adds up. Wealth usually isn't destroyed by one giant purchase. It gets chipped away by 100 little ones that feels harmless. As expensive as convenience is, it's still not the worst thing on my list. The next one, make people feel successful while quietly keeping them stuck. All right, so the next thing that I personally refuse to spend money on is any kind of luxury items, any kind of designers, any of those things, those $1,000 seekers, anything that's made to impress other people. You see, when you buy those things, a lot of people might say, oh, you're showing off. But honestly, I think it goes deeper than that. Because when you start spending money like this, you slowly start measuring success the wrong way. Instead of asking things like, how much am I investing? How much freedom do I have? And how many assets do I own? You start asking things like, how expensive does this look? How new is my car? How much did this outfit cost? That's when appearance becomes the goal instead of progress, freedom, or ownership. That's a dangerous mindset to have, because now your money is going towards looking wealthy rather than becoming wealthy. Have you ever bought something because you didn't want to look broke? A lot of people do that. But the crazy part is, most of the people you're trying to impress don't even realize what you're trying to do or even care. You're spending thousands of dollars trying to impress people who will forget you 10 minutes later. Meanwhile, people who really understand money usually care less about looking rich and more about building leverage. They care about credit and cash flow and assets, because those things actually open doors, not flashy clothes. You see, I learned this at a very early age. Looking rich and being rich are two completely different things. One person is spending money to look successful for a moment, the other is building something real. So you would never catch me spending money on those designers like a lot of people in our community do. For me, it's pointless. Now, if that's something you're into, by all means, if it brings you joy, not saying to completely stop it, but you have to limit yourself. You have to understand if it's out of your budget. Don't just buy the designer if it's the last $300 you have in your bank account. A rule that I always say to myself, if I can't afford it more than 3 times, I should not be buying it. All right, so the next thing that I completely refuse to spend money on, or at least limit myself to the most, is anything that creates a new bill. Because most people think that the cost of something is just the price tag, but it's not. But for a lot of things, the price tag is only the beginning. Once you buy it, you signed up for the insurance, the maintenance, the repairs, the storage, the upgrades, all those other things that comes with luxury stuff. I could give you an example. For instance, a boat, timeshares, any expensive hobbies you have. A lot of time, buying the thing is the easiest part. You have to understand what comes with it. Paying for it later, that's where people get trapped. A lot of times the price tag is just the entry fee to a whole new set of bills. And that's the part we don't think enough about. Ownership sounds great until the bills start showing up. And the more things you own, the more things you have to manage. And that's why I try to be really careful about anything that adds any other monthly bill, monthly expense to my life. Because the less money you owe every month, the more freedom you have. But the rule that probably saved me the most money out of everything in this video is actually a lot simpler than you may think. The last rule I follow is probably the one that has saved me the most money in my entire life. And I don't buy things right away. If I see something I want, I wait at least 48 hours. That's it. If I still want it after 2 days, maybe I'll buy it. But if I forget about it or stop caring about it, that tells me everything I need to know. And if I feel unsure after 48 hours, I wait another 48 hours. Because most purchases people make aren't purely logical. A lot of times, those purchases are quick, emotional, or impulse buying. You see, when you impulse buy, it gives you a dopamine hit. It's exciting. It's like a drug. That feeling of like, yeah, I'm getting this, but then the emotion fades once you actually get it. Then your logic comes back. Then you start condemning yourself. Why did I make this purchase? Look, I'll be honest with you. I think everybody has bought something online, used it 1 or twice, and now it's sitting somewhere in their house collecting dust. Because a lot of the times that excitement really wasn't about the product or the item itself. It was about the moment of buying that product. And it's funny that modern shopping today is built for that. They feed off the buyer's impulse and quick decision making. You'll see things like sales end tonight, buy now, pay later, one-click checkout. All of that is designed to speed up your decision making process. Come on, people, because the less time you think about it, the easier it is to get you to spend. That's why I always wait. If I want something, 48 hours. Waiting gives your emotions time to calm down so you can think clearly. And once that emotion fades, you can decide whether that item was actually important or if you wanted it. Most of the times, trust me, you will forget about it. And that tells you a lot, because temporary emotions should never make permanent financial decisions. At the end of the day, wealth isn't built through one huge decision, as I mentioned earlier. It's built through hundreds of small ones, the things you choose not to buy, the money you choose not to spend, to keep, the discipline you practice every single day, the habits you stop normalizing. And over time, those decisions compound. And eventually, something amazing will happen and you stop trying to look wealthy and you start becoming wealthy. So I'm curious, y'all, what's one thing that you bought that you were super excited about? Now it just sits in the house and you barely even use it. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, if you found this video helpful, make sure you like and you subscribe. On this channel, we talk about money, building your net worth. And as always, stay blessed, stay healthy. Peace.